Hey everyone, it's Sue from SMB Jewelry Designs. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. Welcome back if you're a frequent watcher, and welcome if you've never watched before. As I said, I'm Sue and I do a variety of things. This project today is going to be involving epoxy resin, a two-part resin, and what you're looking at here is some molds I just recently received from Amazon. These are clocks. I've never done a clock before. These are our first time. And I received 4 different molds here, and they're all really cool. This one has Roman numerals, kind of a traditional modern number. This is the astrological signs, which I thought was really cool. And then this one has the numbers kind of all raised, while the base will be kind of set back, I think. Not 100% sure about this one. And I'm not sure how to tackle this one, so this will be one when I'm a little bit better prepared to do something. I don't really know how that's going to work. Yeah, a little confused on that one. More to come on this. So we're definitely not doing this one today, but we will soon because I'm very intrigued by it. This is kind of a traditional, so I'm not too intrigued with doing this one right now. I really like this one. It's very simple. It's really cool, but it's not what I'm into today either. So we'll put this one aside as well. And we're going to focus on the astrology one. So based on how the characters are set up on here, or the symbols I should say, I'm assuming this is noon and this is 6 o'clock. And they don't go in the order of the true astrology signs as far as where they fall in the, whether it's the first sign or the second sign, that kind of stuff, because I'm pretty sure, if my memory is serving me correctly, that Aries is the first symbol, but that's over here at the 9 o'clock spot. It doesn't matter. I'm going off on a tangent here. It makes no difference. It's a cool clock, and that's what I want to do. So my plan right now, at least for tonight, is to get the symbols filled in. We're going to do those in this copper penny glitter. I've had this for a really long time. This is extra fine. I couldn't even tell you where I got it. It's probably at like a Michael's or a Joann's or something like that, a craft store. But I've had it for a while. I really like the way it looks, and I think it's going to go well in this clock. It's extra fine, like I said, so it should go in these symbols relatively easily. And then I have a few other projects. I have another casting that I'm going to do here. It's got the name of Libra and the constellation. I have another casting, or not really casting, but a follow-up to a casting that we're going to do. This was just a rectangle that I had done in a couple different colors. You see the purple and the green, and it kind of reminded me of a night sky. So we're going to do a couple of little elements on here. We're going to put a moon on here. We're going to put a star on there, and then I have some really neat little glow-in-the-dark stars that I'm going to use to fill in the sky. Over here I have a few little drusies that I cast last week. The front side is the textured side. This is the back side, so this would have been the side that was showing face up in the mold. These are going to be filled in with black to bring out the really pretty colors of the drusies on the other side, so I'm going to cover those with black. And I think that's it for the projects that we had set for tonight. So it's a Saturday night. I'm enjoying myself. Cheers. We have a little wine here. And let's get to it. All right, let me get this stuff out of the way. I've had my resin sitting in a bucket, getting warm, because I live in central New York, and right now it's getting very chilly outside. Today is Oh, what is today? October 7, no, October 23rd. And we're down in the 40s or 30s tonight. I do have the heat on in here, but it's not super warm. It's definitely not resin temperature. So I had these soaking in the bath of warm water to make them a little bit less thick. Now, I know my mold here is going to take, well, the mold itself will take a lot of resin, but tonight, at the moment, until it firms up, I'm only filling up the little symbols. So right now I don't need to worry about how much this whole resin, or how much this whole mold takes. So we only need enough to fill in these. But that'll be probably more than we think it's going to be. So I'm going to mix up enough for that. I have this little cast over here, like I said, that won't take too much. And the coatings on the others won't take very much either. So I'm thinking we're going to mix up about 60 milligrams, give or take. So I have a little silicone cup here, and I'm going to measure out 60 milligrams. This is a Craft Smart resin. I just got this at my local Michael's. It's a casting resin, the hardener and the resin itself. These are a 1-to-1 ratio, so I'm going to put 30 milligrams of the B and 30 milligrams of the A and mix them up. It was in my other bottles, but this resin's already warm. It really doesn't make any difference because they're both going to be used. So at the end of the day, who cares, right? So I'm going to open this bottle. And oops, my bad. I do not have my gloves on yet. And this is another case, if you watch me do resin at all, of do as I say, not as I do. I will always wear gloves when I'm doing my resin, especially the epoxy 2-part resin. So I am putting on my stylish purple gloves. Generally, I will wear a respirator with this. I'm not mixing up massive amounts of this. I'm also not heating it. And since you want to hear me talk, I won't be wearing it for this episode, although you should always wear a respirator. It's better to be safe than be sorry later on. Okay, so we need 30 milliliters of this part B. I used to be a huge stickler on making sure that my measurements were like right on the line and right on the money. And I still am for the most part. But you know, if you go over by a hair, it's not the end of the world, because the way I look at it, some of the resin gets left on your stick, some of the resin gets left in the cup, some of the resin gets left here or there. So it is what it is. So now I'm measuring out another 10, 20, and 30. All right, putting all this away, getting it out of the way of what I'm doing here, checking, making sure I'm still in frame, which I look to be. There, good. All right. So I don't know if you can see this. Hopefully you can, but there's little streaks in there. That's because I haven't mixed it yet. You want to mix your resin until there are no more streaks or shimmers left in the resin. So this is going to be about 3 minutes of mixing. I will not bore you with that. We will either speed through this or cut it out. Okay, so I let this kind of sit in a little bit of warm water because there was a lot of big bubbles. I went way too fast mixing it up. That's my fault, but it's okay. It's not a big issue. So I'm going to let it, I'm actually going to pour my little Libra symbol last. I think actually what I'm going to do first is this little guy, because I can pop the bubbles very easily with my with my long neck lighter. So I'm going to pour my resin in there. And often what I will do is use a brush to get my resin all sitting right. So I have a brush here. It's just a makeup brush. It was a cheapy little brush I bought at the craft store. But you can use a makeup brush. Anything with real bristles that aren't, well, as close to real bristles as you can find, that aren't like a man-made fiber, like a stiff fiber. I just realized I have my video playing over here. Anything that's not a stiff fiber, you know, like some of the little children's craft brushes and stuff, you don't want to use something like that. I want to make sure I get around that hole and get up to all of the edges. Any bubbles that are on here we'll take care of and address here in just a moment. I want to get my resin smoothed out as much as I can. And I have a lid from a jar over here that I'm going to put this on. I should have put it on there before I started, but I didn't think of it. And all I'm doing right now is just checking to make sure that we don't have any edges that are pulling away. Nothing that's getting funky. I'm going to bring it over to my other light here real quickly just to check it out. Got one little corner here that needs some touching up. Okay, for the most part that looks pretty good. Put my brush down, wipe off some of the resin I got on my thumb from picking that up. Okay, and you're there. Get my little guys on here. So I have a smiley face moon that's going on. I'm going to pick him up right. Trying to see which way his head goes up. For you guys, this is upside down, and I apologize for that. But he's getting set right in that resin. He's upside down, or is he right side up? I can't tell. I thought he was right side up. I think he's right side up. Yes, he is. Okay. He's good. Then we have a star. And that star will go on here as well. And I'm just making sure they're embedded right down in that resin. So the resin will hold them right in there. Excellent. And last but not least, we have some of these cool little stars over here. And these neat little stars and moons glow in the dark. And they actually work. I've put them on other pieces before. And they're super fun, super cool. So I'm just going to drop them in here. Hopefully. If they want to cooperate. There's already resin on this one from my tweezers, so it's giving me a hard time. Get in there. There he goes. Alright, I'm just going to wipe off my tweezers so I don't have the same problem. Just going to pick them up and put them in. I had a, let me get one of my pokey tools like this. Put a little resin on that. Sometimes it's easier to pick them up that way, and it's a lot easier. I should have thought about that first. And don't worry that these are going down in the resin. They will still glow. I'm not going to bombard it with too many, but I want to know. Hey guys, so you missed part of that. And that's my fault because my camera died. It ran out of storage. So all I did here while you were gone was just add a few extra little stars and moons to my little pendant there. Come here. There you are. So that's what we have. Oh, that's a really bad shot, sorry. So now I'm just going to let that sit. I did already pop the bubbles with the torch, or not torch, the long neck lighter. And now we're going to get to doing the backs of the little drusies that we had talked about. So that will be next. And I'm going to zoom out here just a little bit so you can see better. All right, so here's the drusies. Here's my little mixing cup. I'm going to pour some of my resin in here. I don't need an awful lot because I'm really just doing the backs. It's been sitting, so a lot of the bubbles are gone. I'm going to mix up my resin really well, or my resin, oh my gosh, I can't even talk anymore tonight. Mix up my alcohol ink. It's black, and I've never even used it, so it's not even open. Isn't that fun? Okay, I'm going to open this, hopefully not get black ink everywhere. All right. Black alcohol ink, as I understand it, since I'm not a pro at using it, isn't super opaque. But for the purposes that I'm using this for, I don't think it really needs to be all that opaque. Black will be black enough. I'm just putting it on the backs of these little guys here. So before my resin gets too much harder or too much more firmed up, I want to put it on here. I have my little drusies raised up a little bit with some polymer clay that I had laying around, that I have on the side of my desk here usually, just for such an emergency. That way I can make it level, because the drusies on the other side are uneven, which is why I did that. And I will probably speed through this part because you don't really need to see me putting resin on the back of these drusies. So I'll be back and talking to you as soon as I'm done. Okay, so those are finished. That's all I really wanted to do. Like I said, was just paint the backs of them to make the drusies part stand out a little bit better in the front. Hopefully they don't overflow overnight. Now I've got a little black resin left here. There's a couple things I could do with it, although I don't think I have anything right at hand that I could use this for. So, because I don't, maybe I'll do this. Maybe I'll put a little in the little hole of this little ball that I made a while ago to level it off. Make it a little more round-ish. Set it over there. And I think I'm going to put the rest of it in my little mold here. This is a square resin mold that I've been filling up with resin as I find it. And I'm not being super diligent about how I'm putting it in there. I just spread it around. My resin is starting to get a little thick because it's getting warm under these lights, and I had it warming up earlier. So what you see me doing right now is I'm just spraying some alcohol in the bottom of this dish. I'm going to put my brush in here and hopefully work out most of that resin that I had building up in there. Wipe a little bit of it off on my towel here. Get the bulk of that black resin off there. Because I don't like to give up on my brushes. I like to reuse them if possible. The alcohol is going to shorten their lifespan, but it's better than having it last one resin batch and then not last after that. And I apologize if my camera angle is weird. I think my tripod got kind of funky here when I was playing around with it a little while ago, so see if I can fix it. There. All right. So last but not least are the numbers on my clock here. And we do have to mix up our copper. So I am going to pour that into a separate cup over here. This resin is getting very warm. It's kind of deep in here, so it is warming up very quickly. I'm going to sprinkle in my copper glitter. And I want quite a bit of it because I want it to be very glittery. Just mix that in here. It's probably not the best place to put it, right? No, Sue, it's not. All right. Get that mixed up really well. Scrape off my stirrer here. Let's see if I can pour some of this in by just pinching the sides of my cup. Yep, this is going to be a mess. You saw it here, folks. If I had paper cups, this would probably go a little bit better, but I don't. So I'm making use of this. I didn't expect I'd have all the snafus that I had earlier with my phone, so my resin ended up sitting a lot longer than I wanted it to, which isn't good for the resin because then it starts heating up and it starts to set, which is no good. So I'm just kind of pouring this in here. If Julie from Pouring Your Heart Out ever sees this, I'm sorry for my messiness, because she is so neat. I'm so jealous. This is not going to plan tonight, obviously. I don't feel like any of my resin projects when I get on film here, or on video go film, ever go according to plan. But I will be cleaning all this excess off. So after I've poured it in and I get it where I want it to be, I'll use my squeegee tool and squeegee a lot of it out and kind of clean up the surface, wipe it off with a rag, and we should be good to go. So I feel like it's, because my cup isn't quite as full as it was, it's going a little bit easier now. I just want to get these poured before my resin gets so thick that I can't use it anymore. So if I get extra in here, it's not a bad thing. I've got something in my Pisces symbol here. Hold on. Please hold. Enjoy the music. I don't know what that is, and I'm trying not to get resin on my tweezers, and it's not working very well either. Looks like a piece of glitter from something else, but doesn't want to come out. So you get to suffer through this fun with me. Come on. Trying not to hurt my mold while I'm trying to get this out. my goodness. Seriously. There we go. Meanwhile, I'm getting resin on everything I'm touching. Oh, my poor tweezers and my cutters. Anyway, we'll clean that up in a minute. Let's get this last few numbers or last few symbols here done. Was doing good until I ran into that. Well, sort of good, I guess. I was doing good on the other side. What's watching somebody on YouTube if they don't mess up? That's what I enjoy about so many of the people that I watch. They don't have any problem showing you their attempts at something that didn't go as planned. Because at the end of the day, crafting is not about being perfect. It's about practicing until you have the final product that you want. All right. So now my gloves are completely resin. So I'm going to spray them off a little bit with some alcohol. Get some of the stickiness off of them. I have a rag over here to dry them off with. Okay. We're not perfect, but we're better than we were. So now I want to get these guys completely filled up. And that is, under these warm lights, getting very thick, very sticky, which is not optimal. If we get anything workable out of this, it will be a miracle, as they say. But let's see. See if we can salvage this. If we don't, you saw it here first, folks. All right. See if I can get some of this off. We're to see how thick that resin is now. Sitting in the water is good to keep it from being so bubbly, but it's not good when it comes to time to pour, because it gets too thick too fast. Of course, I wasn't accounting for the issues that I was going to have with my camera, so on and so forth. We already talked about that. I'm not going to bore you again with it. All right. I'm just going through and squeegee in here. I got a hair I just took out. Julie from Pouring Your Heart Out, if you ever see this, I feel your pain with the hairs. I have daughters and my own hair seems to get everywhere. Plus I have 2 cats, which does not help. All right, we're almost done with this. Okay, so I have squeegeed off everything that I can squeegee. I have a paper towel over here that I'm going to use to put some alcohol on and hopefully get some of that sticky copper resin off. In the meantime, I still have a cup sitting here getting quite warm of totally usable resin, and I need to figure out what I want to do with it. So I have a jar mold here, and maybe in my next video I'll show you a little bit more about this mold and what I've made from it so far, but I've been pouring used resin in the mold as I have it. So I think what I will do to keep things interesting, so it's not just clear resin, I'm going to pour a little more glitter in there. So all I did was pour some copper glitter, some more, into this cup. I'm mixing it up because I don't want this to go on me. And I'm going to pour it in my mold. Here we go. No, don't go down the side. Oh, that was getting very warm in there. I'm not worried about it getting too warm in this mold because it's all gonna spread out. So it'll be fine. If you're all wondering how I get anything done, it's because I don't usually do things on camera, so my resin would have all been poured by now if I hadn't run into issues. And it would already be setting up and I would be done. But that's okay, because this is all part of learning. And I know that there's plenty of people out there that want to see what would happen if I did this, or what would happen if I did that. So I'm showing you. All right. So I'm just going to leave the resin that's in these cups to sit. Everything will be covered up before I retire for the night. The reason I will let it sit is in the cups is because those are silicone. So the resin will harden up and I'll be able to just peel it off. And you know what? Since I have this theme of copper going on in this little jar mold already, I'm just going to kind of spread this around so it has kind of an artsy look to it when everything is done. So now all I'm doing is going around and kind of doing the squidgies to get any air bubbles out of there that might be in there, and to hopefully let it settle a little bit. I'm going to put that over there, and my gloves are all resin again. It's okay. I'm going to wipe that off a little bit. All right, so I got another paper towel out, like I said. Hopefully we can recover some of this. I don't really mind so much if there's a little glitter on it, because it might add to the interest of the overall thing. But I don't want it to be nothing but glitter, because that wasn't the original intent. But I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do anything about it. I have some cotton swabs over here somewhere, but I don't think they're going to cut it. There's one. I don't think it's enough to do anything with. Let's see. Yeah, no, that glitter's pretty stuck on there, and all I'm going to end up doing is putting cotton swab fibers in there, which I don't want to do. So off camera, I'm going to try to clean up some of this, and then tomorrow when we come back and look at everything, we'll see how everything turned out. Thanks for watching. Have a great night, and we will be right back in the blink of an eye for you, and tomorrow morning for me. All right, so we're back. It's the next day. It's about, what time did we do this last night? Maybe 8 o'clock. It's about noon here, so it's been about 15 hours. So everything is set up. So on my clock here, as you all remember the disaster from last night, and I'll probably just show bits and pieces of that. I don't know if I'm going to show everything. We'll figure that out. I don't know what's going to happen yet. But from last night, I was able to clean up a little bit of this. And actually, as I was cleaning it up, I started thinking to myself, well, I could just go through and just remove a lot of this resin tomorrow morning, which is what I will do before I pour the next coat of resin on here. So more to come on this clock. It's not a lost cause. Everything really set up well. You can see everything on this side. It looks like it's going to be really nice. I'm very excited. So more to come on this. What I'm essentially going to do is just go through and scrape all of this off and just make it so that we don't have too much of that sparkle left on there, so that when I demold it after I pour the final coat, that everything will look nice and it won't be a total fail. So we'll see. We'll see what happens, but like I said, I'll keep you posted. We'll put that aside. As you may remember, last night we had this little ball that I poured a little bit of black resin on that ended up being just fine. I had set it off to the side and covered it up last night, and it ended up tipping on its side, so we had some pour off on the edge here. But if you can see, that black ended up giving it a nice kind of interesting quality. I still don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I had it sitting there. It was in another mold and just kind of hanging out, so I thought I'd give it a try. You never know until you try stuff, right? This was the little guy that I poured the top coat on last night, and it turned out really decently. There's a little bit of a raised edge here from one of these little glow-in-the-dark guys I put in, and a little bit of a raised edge from the moon and the star, but I'm not unhappy with it. And I think what this is going to be is a key ring. It'll probably be in addition to a key ring. I got some corners here that need to be filed down or sanded down a little bit, and then I'll probably end up pouring another clear coat on top of that. But I'm not unhappy with that. Let me see if I can charge these up and if I can get them to glow for you on camera. Not sure if you're going to be able to see that or not. Yeah, you can see it a little bit. So you see the little tiny stars and moon glowing in there. Yeah, turned out nice. All right. Cool. But you can see the top coat turned out really nice. It's nice and solid. It dried really nice, or cured really nice. Like I said, there's just a little bit of a raised edge right here where this one star is. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get you to see that a little bit right there. And the moon and the star is a little bit raised yet, because those were not really charms, but little metal pieces. So we'll go back and fix that up a little bit. And these were the the little drusies that I poured last night. So this is the first one. I really hope that comes out on camera. Actually, I might take you down and just do a handheld of this, because it might actually work a little easier if I do that, because then I can show you a little bit better what we're doing here. All right, so this is the little guy that I did last night. See, there's a few little raised areas in there where the resin isn't perfectly smooth. And on the tops there, you can see these little raised corners, but that's okay. I'm really liking it. I think it really looks cool how it turned out. All right. So here was one of the drusies that I covered the back in. And there it is with the front now. It's amazing how much that black background can enhance the colors in there. This was pretty before, but it looks even better now. And I have another one that's similar to that. You can see it here. There's the black. Cured really nicely, nice and hard. Makes that stand out even better. This next one was very pale. It was a pale kind of pink. Now look how pretty that is. Really surprising. I already had these guys set on the clay last night, so I didn't get a chance to show you what they look like beforehand. I might have taken a picture of them somewhere, I'm not sure. But this one here was super clear. Like that. Now look at it. There's that resin backing. Yeah, so if you're ever in doubt about whether or not what you've done is really making a difference, as far as putting like colors in something that's kind of clear, put a backing on it, especially if it's holographic or has some sort of sheen to it, it'll make a big difference. I really never thought about it too much, but there's what I have so far. I think these will probably end up being additions to a keychain or some additional piece of art. I'm not sure yet, but we'll find out. Okay, what do we have left? All right, so we have this little guy here. Now I'm holding my camera in my one hand. I'm going to try to get this out without using two hands to get it out. Yeah, it comes. I didn't think it was going to give me too much trouble. Okay, so there's the inside of it. You can see it's kind of rough. A lot of bubbles, which I was afraid of. But there it is. I might try to detract from those bubbles by putting a pretty glittery background on here. I'm not sure yet. But that craft resin from Michaels does have a tendency to be really thick and make a lot of bubbles. So I probably should have poured that in my Let's Resin clear resin, and it would have made a bigger difference. So there's the clock a little closer. See how all those glittery symbols turned out? They look really nice, and what I was trying to show you before is that these little pieces of resin will flake right off. So I'm just going to go through with a tool while I'm watching a movie or something and just take those pieces off. So I will be back with the finished clock in another video. So if you want to see how that ended up turning out, or what I do in the next series of steps, stay tuned, because we will come back and do that. There's those little drusies that I did, the little Libra, and then of course the little keychain that will eventually be a keychain. If you're interested in any of these items for later on, they will be listed in my Etsy shop. I'll try to keep people posted. There's a closer look at this little sphere that I did. You see right here, this raised edge, that's where the resin dripped off, because it was, when I found it this morning, it was tipped over. But see how it gives it that nice solid background. So I think I'm going to do some more of these little spheres and then do the solid background in them later. All right, and then if you remember, we did pour some resin in a couple different molds. So I had poured some of the leftover black in there. Like I said, this is just a square mold, and I've just been dumping resin in there as I have extra. So nothing super spectacular there. And this guy here is the jar that I was telling you guys about last night. And it's about not quite halfway full yet. Looks like it's doing okay. Not sure what's going on right there. I might have an air bubble in there. I hope not, but it's possible. Anything's possible. This is what it looks like down deep inside. It's definitely a mess from where I tried to pour that copper in last night, because you remember it was getting really thick on me really fast. And I was afraid it was going to start smoking and getting really bad and just harden up and turn into a ball that I couldn't do anything with. So I wanted to get it poured into something before it did anything that it shouldn't be doing. All right. Well, as we get farther along, I will keep you guys posted. I also wanted to show you really quickly, this is a resin jar that I poured not too long ago from that same mold, from that mold right there. I put some dried fern leaves in there. Right now I've just got some little cellophane packets for resin pouring in there. I don't know if I'm going to be able to twist this off with just one hand. So let me see if I can get it off. I want to get the cover off, the top off. Sorry, my finger's in the way. It sticks a little bit just because it's resin. That's the nature of the game, but I got it. There we go. So see, it's a totally functioning jar. These are little packets of cellophane that I have in there. It has all the little grooves in it for the top. This was the top that I made. Just added a little bit of glitter, of course, to make it sparkle. There's a lot that needs to be done on this. These were all, they still have a little bit of a raised edge to some of them. I don't know if that's going to make it out. And there's some rough edges around here, but this is mine, so I don't really care what it looks like. But yeah, I like the mold a lot. I was really excited to do it, and I'm glad that I did, and I'm glad I bought it. I got that one on Amazon too. I'll put the links to everything down below in my description. All right, not going to bore you anymore. I hope you enjoyed this video, learned a little bit of something from it. I'm going to keep most of my mistakes in here just because I think it's important to learn. All right, stay safe. Have a wonderful day or evening. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.